Hey guys, so this is going to be episode 1 of Rebuilding Hogwarts. In the very first video I made, I showed off a Hogwarts MOC that we had built in a very short amount of time and had no interiors. In the case of this build, I wanted to make something a little closer to minifig scale so we can add more details and just different scenes in different parts of the castle. So let's turn over to the layout so we can see what I've planned here. Okay, so this is a map of the castle, and as you can see here, this is the Great Hall, the Courtyard, the Grand Staircase Tower. This is basically the area that we had built last time. And for this castle, I wanted to start with different sections. So we're going to actually be starting in the back here. This is the courtyard in front of the clock tower. This is the bridge that leads down to Hagrid's hut. And then over here we have the hospital wing, the Gryffindor tower, and Professor Trelawney's classroom. So that is what I'm going to start with. So for this episode, we're going to take a look at the courtyard. Now over here, if I remove the minifigs out of the way for a second, this is one of the archways that I had designed for the previous castle, and as you can see, it's a little small. It uses a carrot stem piece to create the arches inside, and then we have this tile assembly that sticks on the side here. It uses this relatively new curved slope piece. These get attached on the side, and then these get attached on the face of it. And basically this pattern continued all the way down the courtyard. Now what these arches are supposed to be representing is this design over here. And if you watch the movies, you'll notice that this design here appears mostly in the courtyard in front of the Great Hall, and this design is mostly appearing in the courtyard in front of the clock tower. However, some of the walls on the courtyard and the clock tower actually look like this. So that courtyard has both of these archway designs called tracery. But in any case, this design that I had previously is going to be a little too small for what I have in mind. So I actually started experimenting, and I came up with this one. Now as you can see here, it's a little bit bigger. I'm actually using these 1x3x3 curved, these half arch pieces, and then two of them together creates this. And then what we have here is two hot dog pieces. They're the sausage pieces in nougat, and then these are minifig hands. I'll just take this apart so you can see. So that's a minifig hand stuck into this hollow stud piece, and then that's connected to a telescope piece. Now most of these pieces do exist in tan, everything but the hot dog piece, and I figured, well, I'll just mix in some nougat into the rest of the castle and it won't look too out of place. But I wasn't happy with it. As you can see here, this curved section is supposed to represent this curved section here. And so when you have these two overlapping curves here, it creates diamond shapes. So there's a small diamond here and two larger diamonds here and here. That's trying to be this, but it wasn't really working out. So that's supposed to be the small diamond, and these two are supposed to be the bigger diamond sections. But the sausage pieces weren't quite long enough to to create that here, so I just kind of scrapped this idea. And that took a long time to rework, but I did eventually settle upon something a little better in my opinion, but a lot more complicated. It's actually not that complicated, but it did take a long time to figure out, so it was tricky. But here we have the same arch pieces, but now it's separated by this 1x1 plate, so it's actually spaced out a little wider. So this archway is actually bigger than I was intending to go. So now we're looking at 7 studs here, which is also an odd number, which if you built anything in Lego, odd numbers are not friendly in terms of the parts Lego makes. Lego makes a lot of even numbered parts, but not odd numbered parts. In any case, this actually worked out. So what we have going on here is, if I just take this apart real quick, there's a bunch of battle droid arms, which are very common in tan, so that's good. And then we have these little superhero pieces. So these, I believe, originated with Marvel or DC or some superhero set, where you can clip this into a minifig hand, because there's a bar here, and then on the other side there's a stud, and that stud actually has a connection for bars. So I figured if I can connect this to the bar here, this 3-long bar here, and then connect 2 droid arms which alternate so that they can overlap each other, it would look like connecting archways. And then you put these clips actually slot into the arch piece like so, and then everything goes into these jumpers here so that we can have this little brim, which is actually present in the courtyard. So this actually worked out better than I expected. But yeah, let's look back at some reference so I can point out a few more things. If we see here, this is towards the end of the movie, towards the end of Prisoner of Azkaban, when Harry gets the firebolt, and it's heading towards summertime, so there's a lot more greenery here than some of the other scenes. This is the look I'm going for. If you watch all the courtyard scenes in the movie, there's some that have snow. There's one where it's more fall. There's actually a tree back behind this wall, and the leaves are falling off. It's turning into autumn, so all the leaves are more orange looking. But this is the look I went for. So I actually built a section of courtyard where I duplicated the archway effect I just showed. So I'm gonna pull that out right now, and then I'll be back with you guys in just a second. Okay, here it is, guys. This is the first corner of the courtyard I started with. So as you can see, I actually ran out of those droid arm pieces and the bar pieces, which is unfortunate because that was the part I was most excited for. It's the detail part. I actually have an order in the cart right now to purchase what should be enough of those to finish the courtyard. But for now, we just have this corner wall section. So what I've done here, there's actually some gargoyles protruding off the side of the courtyard here. So I've used these old parrot pieces, which are in old dark gray, which I think actually blends in well with the dark tan, as opposed to just using dark bluish gray, because it gives it more of a weathered look, which looks closer to the reference material in my opinion. But as you can see, I also ran out of the parrot pieces too, so I just have this red one here for now to remind myself that I'm gonna need to order probably about a dozen or so of these. But anyway, so what I've done here is I've tried to replicate the vines all across the top of the roof here that we see in that reference photo. So I'm just using those 3 leafed pieces here as well as these green flower pieces, and then I have one of these vine pieces here. And the way that they're all angled is using a black Exoforce hand, and it clips into a bar plate which is attached to the wall. So I'll just take a section of this apart so you can see. There we go. So right here we have that Exoforce hand. There's actually 3 of them. So 1, 2, and 3. And then it's connected onto this 1x2 bar plate, which is actually embedded into the wall back here. And then that allows them to angle whichever way I need them to. And then I've just used various other green pieces and plant pieces so that it looks like it's engulfing the wall and it's just surrounding it completely. Alright, so let's talk about the rest of the wall here. So I've used a lot of that dark tan and dark gray color. And I've just built this huge long section here. And there's actually these slits along the wall right here. If you pull up any images of the studio model that they used to film the movies, you'll notice that. And then I have these protrusions here, which are actually stuck on using Technic bricks. So here's the Technic bricks, and then there's a Technic pin with a stud, and then that just studs into the back of this. And then it just pops in like that. And then here we have some tiles which go into some snot bricks, and everything's jumpered because, like I said before, these arches are 7 studs wide, but then the space between them, I made them 6 because this is jumpered in between with the Technic bricks, and this is jumpered with the snot bricks. So these tubes actually go into these bar-sized pegs rather than inside in between them. So that's how that's jumpered there. And then same here, this 1x2 tile goes in the center of the snot brick. And then on the other side, these rail plates are also jumpered. So if I just take this apart real quick and I show you, there's jumpers here because they do not make an odd numbered jumper plate, or I mean rail plate. So here they're just the regular 1x2, and then I just paired up 3 of them so that it was 6 studs wide, and then that's how that fits into that space there. And there's actually a gap here in between this column and the plate that connects the cheese slope. And that's there because if you notice, the parrot's tail actually extends back further into the wall, and it's actually a half a plate thick, so that fits snugly in between those 2 parts there. So it has enough space that I could move these parrots into the wall a little further, because before I had them sticking out and it just looked really awkward, but this actually works well. Alright, so that's that. Also, you'll notice that this archway here is done in black because I did happen to have enough black parts to build that design, although I do prefer the tan look, so I have an order in the cart right now for those pieces. But if you did like that design, go ahead and steal it. I have no hold over any of the techniques in this video, but that would be cool on like a gothic window or something. Maybe put transparent pieces in between here, and I think that would work out nice. But yeah, that's what I have for the courtyard so far. Let me show you what I have planned next. So we head over to the reference again, just come through. Here's another picture. this is what I have built currently. So I have part of it done, but I'm gonna finish it and then come back to you guys. So what it is it's the fountain that sits in the middle of the courtyard. So I'm gonna build up that, and then yeah, we'll see all the techniques in a second. Okay, so here's the fountain design I came up with. It's using these binocular pieces right here and down at the base here, and then we have the 4 long bar pieces, and then here at the front of this corner there's that newer falcon piece that actually came in collectible minifigure series 24, I believe. It came with a Black Falcons minifigure, and unfortunately this piece is kind of expensive, which is gonna suck because I need 4 of them, and right now I only have 1, but as you can see they're gonna go on all 4 of these corners. And for this pillar, it's actually battle damaged in the movie, so I just used some shorter bar pieces to replicate that. At the front here we have this archway, which is made using grill slopes, and then this tile, which is angled. There's a single stud that this gets connected into, and then we have a road sign piece which is connected to this faucet piece, and then a hollow stud with a ball joint, and the bar just slides through here, and then that creates these little decorative elements at the top, which you can actually see in the model used for the films. And I've actually run out of these pieces too. They're flower elements in gray that are supposed to decorate all of the corners, but I only had 1, so I'm gonna have to order those as well as the parts that I need for the courtyard. But let me show you how this is built actually. So each of these pillars is exactly the same. This one's just shorter, but it uses this plate here, and if I pull it out, so it's this piece. Now this is an older piece, as you may notice. This section here in between the 2 studs is very thin. That's because this is an older variant of the exact same piece, except that space is thicker here. On this version, it's a half a plate in between each stud. On the newer version, it's an entire plate, so a full plate in between each stud. Now what the older version allows me to do is have the binocular pieces connected on both sides, but they are evenly spaced to alternate the binoculars. So here they're side by side, but at the top of the pillar it's front, and then I could have put one on the back, so it would be front to back, and then at the bottom it's a binocular piece side to side. So this spacing in between here is also half a plate in between each of these bar pieces. And the reason I don't have it back to back is because it's actually using another connection. Here is this piece, which connects into these stack of hollow studs, and then that stud goes into the back of here. So I could get a connection going this way and then that gets studded in by this snot brick. But yeah, so I actually got inspired by another YouTuber who did a similar thing, who basically did both the clock tower and a section of Courtyard for his mock, and that was Cheesey Studios, whose Hogwarts is actually at a lot larger scale. Mine is about 70% of what his Hogwarts was at, so it was huge, but he took it apart and he didn't build the sections that I plan to be building. This is just going to be the beginning of the series. Like I said earlier, I'm planning to extend all the way to the hospital wing, hopefully get towards Gryffindor Tower, divination class, and then maybe extend over into the quad, and then who knows, I might keep going and build all of it, I don't know. But for now, that's what's in the plan. But yeah, so Cheesey Studios built a fountain that I drew inspiration from. I was watching his video on it, and all I can say is, if you haven't seen that one, go watch it. And Cheesey Studios, if you're watching this, do more Harry Potter mocks. They're so good. They're just one of my favorite things to watch on his channel is his mock videos, because he's really good at building. So yeah, but anyways, so I came upon this bird design, going back to that actually. If I can pull up the reference image. I was talking to my older brother about the fountain design, and I was coming up with different ideas, because that bird piece is very expensive. I think it's like $3 or something on Bricklink, and I'm gonna need 3 more. So but I was looking at this image, which is actually from the Lego Harry Potter video game, years 1 through 4, where the bird statues around the fountain are in red, and obviously they're a lot bigger. It's also at a larger scale. So my brother mentioned, what if you used the fox piece, Fox the Phoenix from Chamber of Secrets? And so I actually have one of those here. I have 2, which is already a head start compared to the Falcon piece over here, where I only have 1. The only thing is, these pieces are expensive. They're even more expensive than those. These are like $7 each, and that's already more than I would be spending on those, and I actually like the look of those better. They're more in line with the movies, and the reason these are red in the game is because you can actually interact with them in a very specific way. So yeah, so it would have been cool if I had 4. I might have tried to incorporate this somehow, but it's also a bit too big. Like, as you can see, this would be huge, and it can't really, I'd have to figure out some way to hide the tail in there so I could stick it down. But yeah, so this is what I came up with, and it looks rather nice inside the courtyard. So if I get the wall back in here, and then put this maybe at an angle like this, I think it scales really good actually. And if I put some minifigures here, there you go. So yeah, that's all I have for this update, and hopefully soon, for next week's update, I plan to build up more courtyards, so probably at least double what I have right now. And then start on the clock tower. So that's going to be fun, because it's a rather big building. But yeah, and then maybe we'll move on to interiors, like inside the clock tower and stuff like that. But that'll be for next week's video. But that's pretty much going to wrap us up. Alright, so let me know down in the comments what you guys think so far, what you're excited to see, what you think I should add, what I should change, anything like that. And then I'll see you guys next week.